Then at your second?
So the second ultrasound, this is about, I believe, a week later. He had us come back just to confirm what, the embryo had indeed split and that it was a healthy, viable, identical twin pregnancy. And so Andy and I had obviously absolutely panicked the first week. And then we sort of came to terms with, okay, we can handle 2 more babies. We never planned on having 3 kids, but it'll be fun. It'll be fine. We can handle 2 more babies.
After a little initial stress and a little honest fear, it was pretty awesome. We put our minds to it and moved forward.
So we got up to Dr. Schmidt's office and went in for, this was, I guess, at about 9 weeks, the interview, or the ultrasound. And I remember joking, he asked what we were doing, and I remember joking, saying, we're okay now, and at least it's not 3. So the room got dark, he started the ultrasound, and I think he and my husband saw all 3 of them before I did, because it got really quiet, and then Dr. Schmidt said, there's 3. And again, I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't know. I said 3 what? I didn't know if he meant 3 heads, 3 legs. I just, my brain was not working fast enough to comprehend at that point. So he said, it's triplets. There are definitely 3 identical babies. And then it got very quiet, and I sat up, and I told Andy to take Charlotte out of the room. And everybody left and left me alone for a few minutes to just be quiet. And Dr. Schmidt came back and he said, okay, let's just go home and digest it, and then come back in 2 days and we'll talk about it and we'll go from there. So that was our second ultrasound.
What was it like coping with the fact that you had 3 babies on the way instead of 1? How did you cope?
We didn't tell anyone at first. But it was, we had let a select few know that we were expecting, but we didn't tell anyone at first that, what was happening, multiple babies. Especially at first, we didn't know exactly what was going on, and one of the babies, Indiana, had a lot of problems in utero at the very beginning, so we just weren't sure, health-wise, how everything was going to turn out. Andy, my husband, got over the shock of it well before I did.
Never allowed myself to stress out. Never. Stressing out over something that you cannot control is pointless. So I cope with being positive and trying to relax and finding things to keep me occupied. And thankfully I was very occupied with our business and home life already, so didn't really have time to freak out. Just kind of kept going.
It just took time. It took time to set in, and then, just realize that obviously these 3 were, meant to be with me and meant to be with us and our family. And we still weren't ready to tell people, but I got very big very fast with 3 babies. So people started asking questions, and then we finally decided, I think around week 14, to make the announcement to everybody. We had told friends and family earlier on that it was twins and then it was triplets, but as far as everyone else went, we waited off and then made sort of a general announcement via Facebook with the ultrasound photo, and that we were open to questions, but we didn't want to hear how difficult it was going to be from everyone, because that seemed to be everyone's general reaction is that, wow, that's going to be really difficult, or how are you going to manage? And we didn't have the answers to those questions. So we asked respectfully from everyone to just, respect our space and to keep things positive.
Explain the high-risk pregnancy.
Preterm labor. When you have 3 of them, it's a lot higher risk that you're going to deliver early. You're lucky if you make it to 34 weeks. And so then you worry about having little tiny babies. Also, you have a higher risk to get diabetes and high blood pressure, things like that. So we just watch really closely, make sure all the babies develop okay and you're okay. They also worried that they might share a blood supply when they figured out that they were identicals, that they had to be. They share a placenta basically too, or they can depending on when they divide it, and then they can share blood supplies with each other, and that can be risky. But that wasn't the case. So that was good.
We were just very, 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 very lucky. They were born at 31 and a half weeks. Claire was big. Claire was 4 pounds 8 ounces. Mackenzie was 3 pounds 8 ounces, and Indiana, our little one, was 3 pounds 3 ounces. And that was a pretty fair birth weight for triplets. And Claire was the only one that had to be intubated right after birth, which is put on a breathing machine, and it was just for 24 hours. And overall, they were healthy. They just needed more time to develop. So we were really lucky in that manner. And as far as the pregnancy itself on me, the last month basically was spent. The last 2 weeks were spent on solid bed rest, as in I get up just when absolutely necessary. And the 2 weeks before that were just restricted activity, which was better than what I was told at the beginning. I was initially told bed rest by 18 weeks, and I made it all the way to about 26, 27. So physically, I've got some probably lifelong physical damage from the pregnancy, but that was also a little to be expected. It's hard to make room for 3 at once.
How was the birth experience and postpartum?
The birth experience I was just so relieved that it was that day. I had been in labor for 2 weeks. 2 weeks with these guys on with preeclampsia, like blood pressure, on various different medications to slow or halt the labor progression so they could stay in a little bit longer. I had an injection of a surfactant-like substance that basically helps their lungs develop really fast when it's looking like we're getting to the end. So in order for that to work, they had to stay in for a certain amount of time. So it was about 2 weeks of contractions every 90 seconds and in and out of the hospital.